Happy 2022, Goosebuddies.
Hello.
Hey, we're here.
We're here. We made it. It's a new year. We're updating the podcast, and I think
are we
we've been working on it? I think we've been. We're ready to finally tell people about the new things we're bringing out to keep up with the times. And
are we?
Oh God!
Yeah,
what
and it's guys. I got you all to sign on board. You signed the documents like back in summer. Goosebuds NFTs are coming out.
Oh no! What have we
joke.
done? What have we done?
And I'm really excited. I think yes.
Chad, when I told you every podcast has an NFT guy, that wasn't a suggestion.
I thought it was passive aggressive pressure, so I got it going.
Kevin was like, "It will not be me. It better be one of you two, because I am not giving in and liking NFTs."
Yeah, well, be excited, boys, because I guess I'm telling you guys here on the podcast as well. But
what's our grip?
We're gonna launch our new line of NFTs, and we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing something a little bit different.
We're doing
These
it
are NFTs,
a little stupider on this podcast.
A little stupider, but they're physical NFTs.
Okay.
These are organic wooden NFTs.
Okay, you're saying these are unscreenshotable.
Unscreenshot. You can't screenshot them. That's the problem, right? You can always just right click and say these are only in Meat Space NFTs.
Okay.
These are made out of real recycled wood and paper paste. Circular, perfectly round like a coin, so it's also kind of like a Bitcoin.
Okay.
And you can stack them.
Okay.
I think I see where we are. I think I've cracked Chad's subtle code.
Yeah.
Chad, like many storytellers of old, has cloaked himself in the guise of the enemy for a little act known as satire. And he is suggesting that we mint pogs.
Yeah.
Oh, and our pogs are open source.
They're unregulated, so you can definitely use pogs for any sort of transactions you want to use.
The analog is perfect between pogs and NFTs. Holy shit.
Yeah. These are better too, because I so many times you're like, I have this NFT, but I lost my hard drive wallet. I can't access it anymore. What we're gonna give you when you buy your first 10 Goosebuds non-fungible tokens.
Nice fun toys.
I like nice fun toys. Neat. How about neat fun toys.
Neat fun toys.
I have concerns.
Yes.
Because you love the rules.
Because I love the rules.
You love regulation.
I know that we're destroying an amount of trees in order to make pogs, because as we all know, for a true pog, you must destroy at least 10 trees.
Yes. The best pog, Kevin, as we all know, the best, strongest pogs come from the center core ring of a tree, of a great red oak.
Yeah, but not every red oak is up to snuff for pog duty.
And the only way we know is to mint them into a pog to be sure that to test the hardness of their wood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Schrodinger's pog, if you will. My concern is, if we're going to call these NFTs, then they're not doing nearly enough environmental damage. We gotta. Really,
well, we just said we're destroying trees for them. What else do you want to do?
Not enough.
Okay, all right, okay.
Trees per pog?
Gee, okay. Kevin came in from a different angle than I thought. All right,
let's talk. How can we raise
what else would appease you, Kevin?
Well, for me, the real draw of the NFT is the fact that it's destroying this horrible blue marble that we live on.
What if I told you, Kevin, because theft of nice, fun toys is rampant in Toys R Us stores across the... It's mostly why Toys R Us is going out of business, is everyone's been stealing... Who's going to be stealing these Goosebuds?
They're paying high prices for these.
High prices.
At manufacturers' rates, too. They're not paying retail for this. The cost, the base cost is extremely high. I got an idea too. Chad, I don't want to jump on your idea. I do have an idea though. Another way to make this.
Okay, well, sure. Well, I just want to throw this out there, just add on to it, because these are all yeses. The nice fun toys can be everything that we need them to be. They are triple packaged in plastic.
Okay, yeah. And I was gonna say, I'm gonna, like all the best marketers do, I'm going to steal what other marketers do. And so, the shoe companies that are like, you buy a pair of these shoes, we're going to give another one away. The same thing with our NFTs. You buy one, there will be another one made and then burnt right away. Just burn it.
Oh, okay.
Just burn it. They're not going to give it away to somebody in need or anything like that.
We send it straight to hell.
We send it straight to hell because if I gave it to somebody for free, that's one less NFT that we're going to sell. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, you're making a lot of sense. Yeah.
You know that there is a undead form languishing in hell while you have the other copy.
Someone's being tortured to death, and they're like, a pog with podcasters on it. How fun!
That was the end of my bit.
Well, Chad, it was a harrowing bit, but a necessary one, I feel.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know what your bit did for us? It allowed us to experience true fear.
Mm.
The only fear that is scary is true horror, true real horror.
Yes. So you're saying by presuming or presenting real terror, you might be able to capture genuine frights, much like the antagonist of this book?
The artiste of this book.
So that's a big compliment to give to R.L. Standen. What's his name? Farraday.
R.B. Farraday.
R.B. Farraday.
We are talking about... Welcome to Goosebuds.
Hello.
I'm Chad.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Paul.
And before we're all immortalized in Pog form, we are going to talk about this Goosebumps 2000 book, Fright Camp, which had a scary little raccoon on the cover. He's getting into your trash.
I like that the raccoon did show up very briefly.
For no reason.
He wasn't even scary.
No. It was just like a stray paragraph. RL was like, oh, and there was a raccoon popping out of a trash can. Oh, it was almost insulting to Jacobus art on the front of this book.
Yeah,
not to knock. Jacobus is usually hitting them home runs pretty straight. I don't know if, you told me the title's Fright Camp. I don't know if just a randomly wild raccoon that doesn't look much different than most raccoons can be anyway, other than the green eyes, just in some trash. That's nature, man.
I mean, it's rabid. I mean, that's for fucking sure. Look at that thing. Look at those teeth.
Yeah, but what does raccoon in a trash can say about camp? Like, this doesn't make any sense with the rest of the book.
Well, do you not see the human femurs behind it?
I do.
They're eating people at this camp, so that's scary, I guess.
I also see some very fresh grapes. They threw out some... That should have been Imperfect Foods. Could have saved those for sure.
And that apple core? Who ate that apple core? They left so much apple on that core.
That's the real scare, is the waste.
Food waste.
So, Paul, you had pointed out when we started reading this, this log line, or this tagline, where the wild things are... ... out of control.
Which is what a wild thing is. I don't know if if you go to where the wild things are in control, I would argue they're not wild things.
Yeah. I guess like part of the Spike Jonze movie, they were kind of mumblecore and just kind of hanging out.
You were talking
so
about...
They weren't too out of control.
Yeah, we were talking about the mumblecore nature of that.
I would have enjoyed a mumblecore version of Fright. This book. This is a book. Had some big highs and a lot of lows for me. How do you all feel?
A lot of
about
lows, huh?
I think so.
I started this about like 2 hours before we recorded. I'm like, that's plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just had to put the book down a few times and be like, I know I'm wasting time, but God, fuck, I can't take any more of this shit.
So first off, we're introduced to the two main characters right away. And we're introduced, their first attribute is that they love the horror director R.B. Farraday.
Mm-hmm.
And R.B. Farraday is a stand-in for R.L. Stine, obviously.
Oh!
And... oh, I get it now. The book's good.
The book is good, guys.
He's R.L. Stine. If R.L. Stine was a film director, I kept trying to compare him to like maybe this would be. It's not even a John Carpenter, like
an Ed Wood.
The titles of
maybe.
all of his movies, an Ed Wood, or like this feels like a Canon Films director, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
There's a lot of
schlock.
Even the book starts off with the Revenge of Dr. Cruel, Carnival of Disgusting Horrors, Crab Monsters versus the Leech People. All probably more interesting stories than what we read in this book, but it feels kind of like that like 80s B movie where a couple are famous, but there's a lot of just like you ironically love these films because of how stupid they are.
Right. The question we have to ask is RL going to be self-aware while writing this? Is he? And the answer is yes. And the question then we have to ask is, if he is aware of his self while writing this, will he upend his own tropes? And the answer is no, he will not.
That's why I wondered how self-aware he was, or if he just thought the name was enough. I'm very curious about it.
Did you guys find this first chapter a little awkward?
It's weird because it only serves to set up who the characters are and what they're into, and then like we probably could have just gone to camp, right?
Yeah, and like on top of that, like it's just some really weird stilted dialogue even for RL.
There is some incredibly bad dialogue in this that I've made notes of. We will talk about it. There's some there's some lines that RL could not have read out loud to himself.
Yeah.
Because if he did, he would have been like, why would anyone talk like that?
Yeah, like listen to this exchange on page 3. The camp had everything. The haunted forest. The lake of water zombies. Wow. How will we ever wait till July? I cried. I wish I could close my eyes and it would be summer now, Tyler declared.
Don't worry, Tyler. On the next page, you will close your eyes and it will be summer now.
I am looking forward to the book beginning, he said. Yeah, yeah.
I will say this, though. I will say this about it. I think that RL's, like names that he came up with are cool in this one. Like Lake of the Water Zombies, I was like, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Horror, well, titles are his game, dude. Like, he's all about the titles.
Writing is 90% a good title.
Yeah, he is on his name game, this book.
I would put this is a camp book for sure, but I would put this in like the more Horrorland genre of Goosebumps books.
It is an amalgam of the two, for sure.
It's a little shocker on shock. We talked often about how the camp books are often the more solid ones. There's something about the setting. It gives her a lot of excuses to get the parents out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just let the kids be exposed to horrors, and
they are in this.
And they are. I was feeling this really hard at the beginning because this is. We'll lay this intro down a little bit, as we already said. Andrew and his brother Tyler, they're going to a camp which is advertised as the famous director R.B. Farraday is running this camp. This is a very like Camp Krusty vibe, which I would say is horrifying if you went the Camp Krusty route of like, oh, things are just going to be neglect and there's going to be no child supervision and tetanus running amok.
Right.
But instead, it is this like, you will just get pranked over and over again.
Pranked.
Pranked. That was my Oh Hello fandom sleeping in.
It's funny because I was typing out notes as I read this, and I wrote pranked instead of pranked, and I was like, that's a fun way to say pranked wrong.
That is a fun way to say it.
Pranked.
You guys got pranked.
Got pranked.
Like the first real one, I think this camp starts out pretty swinging.
The great movie ride hijacking of the bus.
Yeah. I kind of thought that was like they're just on the way to camp, and then the bus driver is, I assumed they were moving and on the road, but a man boards the bus and attacks the bus driver and takes it over, and now there is a masked man driving a bus full of kids.
Don't undersell that the man walks on in a large black hat, black facial covering, black sweatshirt, and black pants. He's in a murderer's outfit, and he takes over.
He's an MIB.
He's an MIB, and he throws the SOB driver right out the door while the bus is, I believe, moving. No, it stopped at that point, but he does throw him out. People,
dude, he takes out the fucking trash.
Takes out the people take fucking blows for this. Like, this is like they're putting people over. And use a little bit of wrestling terminology. These marks are taking hits in this book.
They are kayfabe as shit in this. And like the kids are generally freaked out.
Kids are crying and screaming and like truly traumatized on this ride.
I liked this part, and then you kind of have I think this book's biggest flaw comes up already here, where they know it's a camp for a horror director. Either Andrew or Tyler is like, oh, well, I mean, this is a camp that promised to scare us. This is clearly fake.
Right.
And then the bus driver, then the madman has driven past the entrance to the bus, and they're like, oh, wait, maybe it's not. Oh, it's just really, there's a second hidden entrance. It is fine. Everything's okay. There's a lot of like, it's a joke. It's not though.
Right.
But it's a joke.
Right.
There's a lot of that.
That's what the thing is, right? It's the self-awareness of like the tropiness, but it never does anything to circumvent those tropes. It always falls back to the same trope, and he says what the trope is going to be, which you probably have figured out as a reader, and then is like, and I'm gonna do it. Fuck you, I'm gonna do it anyway.
I've kind of already played that card. Yeah, I'm gonna do it again.
Just like Horrorland, there's a lot of back and forth with trust. Like,
right.
The camp wouldn't really let them do this, right? So it's not really happening. Or is it? Like, it's a lot of the same, like, they're joking, they're not joking, they're totally joking, or are they? Like,
right.
Just over and over and over again. And it gets to be a little much. My other complaint with this book is there are so many fucking characters.
There are a lot of kids.
There's maybe too many kids.
On the bus alone, we meet two, Meredith and Elizabeth, who we mentioned.
Right.
Elizabeth is a fake horror fan, so I immediately feel kinship with her.
Yeah, all the other horror fans are going off about their sick freak likes and what they're into, and Meredith is like, but maybe we could do a little arts and crafts, and they're like, fuck you, Meredith.
Elizabeth wants to do the arts.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth is the fake horror fan. I'm sorry.
I wanted there to be, and maybe Elizabeth could have been that, I wanted there to be one kid whose like parents didn't read the brochure fully, like they're not into horror movies.
Right.
I thought this was like 4-H camp, and oh my God, I don't even want to be here. And they're just like kind of over the genre.
Right, yeah. Right.
Elizabeth's like, I brought my, Pokemon Blue, and brought my Game Link cable in case anybody wants to trade or battle.
And all of the horror nerds are like, we're not that kind of nerd, Elizabeth.
She's like, oh my God, I'm going to die out here.
And then the bus swerves in front of a giant tractor trailer and the horn honks. This driver, the man who takes over, the hijacker, seriously risks these children, even for a prank, even for a goof, bro. It is very, very dangerous what is happening here. And I love that about this, because this book swerves into the face of danger constantly.
Well, Paul, I'm sure the driver was also employed by R.B. Farraday, and the
of
whole
course.
Highway was just an elaborate set piece.
All a ruse.
It wasn't even a fake street. I kept thinking, like, it was hard for me not to think about the industry and stuff by reading this, because this is like, it's kind of a cute detail, if depending on how you read it, where they show up to the camp and, R.B. Farraday is there. And they're like, wow, look, this camp's got everything from all of his movies. It's like a fan convention. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, there's the Spin and Scream ride from Carnival of Disgusting Horrors. And then they point to my favorite one, and that's the track from Go-Karts from the Evil Kingdom, I told myself.
Uh-huh.
That one sounds great. Whatever that movie is, I want to watch Go-Karts from the Evil Kingdom. But it's like, I interpret that less as R.B., I'm going to call him Salinger for some reason, R.B. Farraday. Instead of he spared no expense to bring all these things from his movies, it's more just like he had all the props like in his house.
Uh-huh.
And they just kind of laid them out everywhere.
Yeah, I pictured a Guillermo horror house situation.
Yeah, if Guillermo, if Del Toro dragged like 20 things from Blight House into a random camp, and it was like, here you go, it's Guillermo camp. What are you gonna do?
Prepare to get spooked.
You wanna ride the Hell Beast from Hellboy 1? Go ahead. Don't break it though.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
that'd actually be kind of a cool camp.
And the camp sounds dope when they show up, because you do see that they have thrill rides and go-karts. It looks sick. It's like the beginning of Heavyweights, where you're like, this is a great camp. I'm excited to hang out at this camp.
Like a good camp. Yeah. If there was a real camp where you got to hang out with like John Carpenter, Old Man Carpenter is paying for this camp, and like, you're going to just watch his horror movies and have activities based around them. Like maybe there's a whole, like, which one of you is the thing?
Uh-huh.
And then at night, I'm going to play my EDM mix for you because I just do that now. That would be a sick camp.
Dude, if John Carpenter came out every night and fucking wailed on the guitar for you for like an hour and a half.
God. Yeah.
Oh my God. Just blasted you with his heavy tunes. Hell yeah.
as you're drinking bug juice, just hanging out. Get my first kiss while John Carpenter's just playing around the keyboard. Yeah, sounds rad.
While the Halloween theme plays.
That's not what this book is, though.
No,
dude,
no.
But you know, if they did like an adult camp for horror fans, that'd be the horny fucking camp.
Oh yeah,
people be smooching.
It's a kissing camp.
Sure, but wouldn't you? I think at horny camp, I don't want to call it horny camp, adult horny camp. I'd be like, if we fuck, we're gonna die though. Like that's the risk we take.
And that's this book, right? Is these are all of the children are sick freaks who love horror, so they all deserve death, right? That's what this whole thing is. Like that's what we're exploring with this book. At least that's what I got from it, because all the kids are like, every single one of them is ready for fear. They live for fear. And they're here to be feared.
Meanwhile, I'm wearing no fear shorts. I don't want any fear in my life.
We are the opposite ends. So Kevin is the fear neutral who lives in between us.
Chad, no fear. Kevin, some fear. Paul, several fear.
Live for fear.
Several fear. All these are available on goosebuds.store. So the setup for it, because I think this book starts off pretty strong and then kind of meanders, is you're here at camp. And
I don't know.
You're going to be here all summer.
Chad, I kind of agree that it does sort of meander in that, like, I don't know that you ever feel like there's a point to this book. You know, like there's like no like goal for this book.
Yeah.
There's no goal, but horrors are constantly happening in it, which is kind of cool.
And it's not like an open-ended mystery, like whodunit sort of thing. It's a true or false sort of mystery.
Right.
Sure. This is either real or not, and we'll just be talking about that for the whole time.
And the main character does not seem too interested in figuring out if it's real or not.
No.
I think and maybe this is just reading this as adults. I feel like RL or whoever wrote this kind of like spoiled any sort of vibe for the twist, quote unquote, by when we first meet RB Farraday. I think this is like the first main day of camp. They're all assembled in the main lodge, the mess hall, and there's posters everywhere, and there's a couple tall counselors, including one guy with an anime throbbing scar on his forehead.
Yeah, that's Alfonso. He's the assistant warden.
Yeah, which he'll come up a lot. And RB shows up. He's just hanging out here at camp with like, I don't know, however many kids. This must be a kind of expensive camp to get RB here.
That's right. Here's what I was thinking too. The horror per child ratio in this, very high. I think that like you're saying, like, there's maybe 30 kids here is the vibe that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of attention being poured onto each child to give them all maximum horror. And the price of admission had to be very high for this camp.
Well, so we skipped several things to get to RB Farraday.
The bees.
We skipped Jack and Chris, who are
the bunkmates of our main characters.
Yeah, the bunkmates of Tyler and Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
When we first meet Jack, he's pretending his hand is stuck in a wasp nest.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it's just like a prop with a little speaker inside of it.
Which is interesting because if you've ever interacted with a wasp's nest, you know that the second you touch that nest, the environment around you becomes wasps. It does not, there is no, the weather is wasps at that point.
It's never, oh my, they're all trapped in the nest.
It is wasp weather at that point. You are going to be rained upon by wasps.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens here. Instead, Jack is sitting screaming, "Get my hand out! The wasp stings! They've swollen my hand!" Which is hilarious. And they can't pull it out, and then he pulls it out, and then it is revealed that it was I guess they're leaving prank prompts around the park.
Well, maybe there's no script for this, and this is more of an improv camp where like we're just leaving you fun things for you actors to play with.
Right.
If you want to play with the wasp nest, go with it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we do find out something about Jack and Chris later.
Right,
but,
absolutely. Well, absolutely,
but even here, we know this is a fake wasp. It's just with a speaker inside. Listen, a lot of time and money is being made for these random effects, real effects.
Yeah, there's also a quicksand pit.
Which we know isn't real, thanks to Kevin.
Well, come on. Come on. It's not real. There's no such thing as quicksand.
You say this, Kevin, and then I'm gonna die in a quicksand someday, and it'll be like the big news reports. Yeah, Mr. Quant walked into it because he said, "Well, this can't hurt me because my friend Kevin said so," and then he died.
It's fake. There's no such thing as quicksand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't exist.
Sounds like what's something that a person who has surrounded their entire home with quicksand would say.
Yeah. This might be my truth earthing. This might be my flat earth, but I still believe in quicksand.
Sorry, guys. I'll post relevant data about how quicksand doesn't exist later. But right now, we gotta handcuff some kids to a desk.
Oh my god!
What was that about?
Okay,
like, why?
I actually think that this was very smart from like a theatrics perspective because you want the kids to be scared, right? And you don't want them to run away when you bring a live gorilla into the room.
Okay, we gotta talk about the gorilla. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So they handcuff and wire all the kids to this big cable, which, according to R.B. Farraday, I guess it's a device that turns their fear into electricity.
Well, it's unclear.
It's never explained because they talk about the fear meter, right? Is what it's called, Kevin?
Yeah.
It's from his movie. I think it's called The Revenge of Dr. Cruel.
Yeah.
There's a line that I remember going like, "This is frustrating because we've just talked about how long these kids are RB fans."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's that thing from the movie." I hadn't seen The Revenge of Dr. Cruel in a long time. I struggled to remember exactly what the fear meter did.
Right.
And then we never find out other than he just electrocutes a kid.
That's just what, it just happens. We just, he's like, well, let's show what the fear meter is to these kids. And then a kid who was chosen as a troublemaker because of, I forget, was there?
Chris refuses to be handcuffed.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be restrained.
Smart.
And he has a little freak out, and so he gets electrocuted to death.
This is like maybe the scariest part of the whole book, I think, just where it talks about how his like head jerked in his seat and it went limp, and kids scream.
He slumps to the ground, and then his body is carried off, and they're like, "Is he dead?" And they were like, "I don't know."
RL talks about how a smell of deep fried shit just emanated from his corpse.
A smell emanated from his pants, a brown smell.
Oh, I moaned as I smelled that burnt poop.
Yeah, so he's dead forever, except he comes back in a few pages, because of course.
Yeah, he also throws out very quickly, like, Alonzo is very clearly just evil. He's rubbing his hands together, going, "Oh, it's more fun when we shock him this much." And Faraday's like, Don't make me regret hiring you, even though you're a felon.
Next we meet Rocco the gorilla.
I love this part. Oh my god.
It's wild. It's a wild moment. They're all still strapped down into the fear meter at this point.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were still strapped down, which makes it way scarier.
All still strapped down. They've just watched one of their own be smote by the fear meter.
Can I also add though that like this is I think supposed to be like the welcome to camp speech? Like this is the in the heavyweights. This is your like
this is the keynote.
We're laying down the basic rules. We're going to teach you the camp cheer.
Yep.
Know your camp assignments. But instead it's Faraday going, we're going to string up a kid and shock him. Oh, well, bring in the monkey. And then there's just they wheel in a cage. And to make it very clear, it is not a man in a suit. This is the giant gorilla from one of his films, Conquerors of the Gorilla Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
also sounds great.
There's a lot of great names in this. Kunga, the animal vampire, was one that
I loved Kunga the Animal Vampire. I want to watch Kunga the Animal Vampire.
I think a fun. I didn't do it because I didn't have time. But I would love to go through. I think at some point they say that he made like 35 movies or 35,
something. Yeah.
I would love
not enough, honestly.
No, not enough. I would love to go through and actually like catalog all of the name drops because he's like every other page they're name dropping a movie, and I'd love to see if it equates out if all 35 of the movies are name dropped in here.
RL again, great at titles. Like I gotta say, like I can kind of see how this book was like planned out, where he was just like, okay, I'll invent a horror director, and then I get to come up with a bunch of horror movie titles. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then like these will each be like attractions at the camp, and now I just gotta kind of string those together in an interesting way. I'll get to that.
Yeah, you know what? I this is me being nitpicky. I I in my mind, it wasn't even Carpenter. This is probably be if like Roger Corman had a camp. A guy who made, like 200 fucking movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And just was swinging wildly, like 2 of them are good. Kind of thing where I'm like, I wanted it to be some sort of dude who's just like put out hundreds and hundreds of films, and that would help explain where they're like, we don't know if we know that one. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Have we seen Gorilla Planet? No. Yeah. Okay.
I like how, like, not all of the kids have seen all of the movies. Like, some of the kids are like, yeah, Gorilla Planet. The kids are like, sure, yeah, okay. I've seen the big names. But yeah, Rocco gets free. We get our first low moan as Andrew, our protagonist, is menaced by his long gorilla paws.
He dodges. Whatever. He does a swift dodge under the clasp of the gorilla.
The gorilla just gets out. They just forgot to close the cage.
Yeah, and I really think the restraints work here, both for like the horror aspect and the theatric aspect. I like it a lot. I don't remember how they get Rocco back in there.
So,
they just shoot him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they shoot him. They fucking shoot him.
Another great horror, very very similar to the horror that Dom and I witnessed on that one ride, where a man with a gun shows up.
It reminded me of Haunted Hayride. Yeah,
Alonzo accidentally lets Rocco the gorilla free. It swings it at our main character, and then after he dodges, he looks up and it's swinging at another child. At which point, a door crashes open and a guard with a gun walks in and fires, and all the children are like, if this were, again, we always talk about if scenes were directed and how hilarious they would have been. Yes. Like the children screaming with the gorilla running around, door opens up, realistic rifle shot fires out, and all the kids are like, ah! Screaming and crying and stuff like that, and the gorilla just slumps to the ground. Would have been an absolutely bonkers and hilarious sequence.
I was cracking up. This is one of the funniest scenes I've read in a Goosebumps book. I kept, it's funny, I kept picturing like, oh, this movie is not even Dr. Moreau. This is the documentary about filming Dr. Moreau with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando and everything. This is just
where Richard Stanley hides in the actual cast. Yeah.
This is just some sort of nightmare production where things are going badly, because I think like I was re-looking back up in the book, like, RB kind of just tells you the whole twist in the very beginning, right here in this speech. Before the gorilla is released, I want to find this exact line for it, because it almost was just too much.
Well, so this is where no, you're good. So this is where it happens, right? Like when they zap the kid, he says to them, I'm going to show the world true horror. And I'm going to do it. And like, he doesn't come out and say that he's making a movie, but it's pretty obvious that like he's making the movie here, right? Like, he says,
he says, you will be here. I found it. This is in the middle of a speech. RB, Mr. Farraday says, "This is an exciting summer for me," he continued. He spread the clipboard across his bony knees. "As Alonzo told you, I've made 35 movies, but that's only film, color images on celluloid. This camp gives me a chance to bring my movies to life. And now you will all be actors." I kind of just was like, oh yeah, he's filming a movie.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty obvious.
And this is I gotta say, I think this book is fun, silly, goofy, and has legit weird horrors in it, because apparently all the rules are off, and you can do anything. You just can zap a kid with electricity, and I know he doesn't really do that, but the imagery that you get in this book is very, very violent towards children. The ride scene coming up soon is incredible for that. But
I could see this like scaring a young reader
for
sure.
And I think a young reader might miss a lot of that. Essentially, this book is The Game by David Fincher. That's what this book is. Sure. It is a thing where a character signs up for a thing, knowing that it's going to be like he doesn't, when he signs up for the game in the game, he doesn't know quite what it's going to be, or his brother. Yeah,
it's like change your life. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it.
His brother signs him up for it, but it's like, you're going to play a game and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's what this is, right? We're going to go to a park and we're going to get scared. Like
these Squid Game ripoffs are really getting at it.
Do you guys remember there was an article back when Rolling Stone used to be a magazine? I remember reading about a service you could pay for in like New York and the East Coast, that was for people who like had a lot of money to blow and you wanted like some thrill in your life. And it was you paid some exorbitant amount of money and then you assign these waivers. And at some point unknown in the future, maybe when you're walking to work, maybe when you're at home, people would come by in a van and kidnap you.
I think I remember that.
Do this whole staged thing where you had like agreed to do it, but you didn't know when it would happen.
Right.
And I guess it was just kind of a way of like thrill seeking,
which is what this is. Which is exactly what this is.
Yeah,
it's
like you kind of agreeing to do it.
Right. They signed the papers at the beginning of it. It's made very obvious that they signed some waivers that allow them to be terrorized in this. And the only thing that bothers me about this book, with that, to your point, Chad, about him laying out what's happening here and what happens with the driver as well when they lay out what the driver is doing, is that they do say what's going to happen, and then there's no real attempt to flip that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's interesting. I love this trope and story so much, right? I mean, the best version ever is The Truman Show, like realizing it's all for you. Mm-hmm. Or the reality show Joe Schmo, where it was like, we're going to do this whole thing to prank some guy. Mm-hmm. That one was pretty mean. But it doesn't completely work for me because the characters kind of knew what they were getting into. And then they're like, it's so much scarier halfway through where you think maybe this is a director trying to make a found footage movie. I almost wish he had said that, right? Like, kids these days need Blair Witch Project. So we're going to do one out here for real. And then the production got away from him.
Right.
That makes it scary to me because I'm like, oh, these kids are going to fucking die. This is going to be like the Twilight Zone movie. Mm-hmm. This director is stepping way out of bounds. Max Landis' dad killed people in the Twilight Zone movie. I think people need to know that.
That did happen. Very sad.
That did happen. Yeah. Why did I call him Max Landis' dad? John Landis.
You just had to take a dig at Max Landis.
I want to make sure people know. People have that connection.
The thing about this is these kids are all freaks, sick horror freaks that love their horror,
mm-hmm.
their sick horror, and they sign up for the punishment. And what they're taught during this is that the sick horrors, if they were to really happen, are absolutely terrible. They just get a taste of they get a little taste of the horrors that they love so much. They get them perpetrated upon themselves, and it turns out that it's not fun to have that happen to you. So That's what they discovered throughout this. Yeah, the gorilla goes down. The gorilla is taken away.
And we're off to the spin and scream.
Yeah. So like basically they like do that, right? And I don't think is it right to the spin and scream? Does anything else happen?
The spin and scream goes on for like 7 goddamn chapters.
I don't know what the connective tissue to the spin and scream is. I think it's just like a hard cut.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But there are carnival rides on this camp, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a cool idea for a camp.
Real quick before we get to the carnival ride there. So the connective tissue is gorilla sequence happens, right? They go back to their cabin and they have the moment where they're talking about it, and Tyler, Andrew are brothers, and then Chris and Jack are their roommates. Chris is the one who was zapped. They're talking about it with Jack, and they do the classic thing, which is he starts to tell them all about it, and then Alonzo does the worst spying of any spy of all time, which is he walks up to the window and like loudly breathes next to the window as he's spying on them, and that's where we're cut off, right?
Yep.
Before any of the information can be revealed. It happens a couple times where Jack or someone else says something incredibly vague and then walks off before explaining what the vague thing is that they said.
There's a lot of chapters that end on just, cabin 3, that's the lucky cabin.
Mm-hmm. I will not explain that to you. Goodbye. And they walk away.
So you guys, Kevin, you said this was a cool thing for the camp to have the spin and scream.
It is cool.
Yeah, why not?
I found it frustrating because I was like, I guess it makes sense if it's just things from his movies, but it felt like Arl was like, well, we're doing Horrorland again. Like, it felt non-thematic to spend so much of this book about a camp and instead have it be a carnival ride. That's just me.
Chad, that's a fair point, and you're right to say it. However, it does give us one of the best, I think maybe the best, Goosebumps barf scene.
I hope that you use the same colorful language to describe the vomit. I hope you use that same quote that I have written down here because it was fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, you mean the quote on page 52, balloons of yellow vomit?
Another kid sent a balloon of yellow vomit into the air. Beautiful. Beautiful poetry.
Love.
Yeah.
I love Balloon of Yellow Vomit. Balloon of Yellow Vomit is like my grunge band name.
We would be remiss to skip over the scene of Chris escaping the capture after he's been zapped, escaping the capture because his friend Tyler says that Chris is messed up, and he tells this to our brother main characters, and we then see Chris escape the clutches of the doctors, and he's running through a field whinnying like a horse.
What the fuck was that
which
about?
is an incredible sequence, and it just happens, and then it's over, and then they're on the ride.
I was so sure that was like, oh, this is going to go Dr. Moreau style. They're turning people into animals.
Yeah, because after we don't really need to talk about Muscular Duffy.
Muscular Duffy's cool.
He keeps it
It
tight.
was just the guy who runs the ride.
Yeah. I mean, but he wears just like tight fitting clothes and like he's flexing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wants to flirt with all the other people that work at the camp, at Fright Camp.
I guess. And he walks away to get like a fucking Coke while the ride is spinning.
Yep. Yeah, he cranks the ride into overdrive. All the kids are having a good time until they start to get sick and pass out. Heads are lolling. Kids are like completely unconscious on the ride because it's just spinning at such a rate of force that it's just knocking kids unconscious, spewing balloons of yellow vomit out of their body. And Duffy runs off to grab a Coke, comes back, pulls the lever, it cracks, leaving the snaps in half, and the kids are trapped on the ride spinning. They're all freaking out, and then he unplugs it.
And then Meredith, Elizabeth, Andrew, and Tyler, Karens that they are like, we'd like to talk to your manager.
Uh-huh.
So they go off to talk to Arby, and when they get to Arby's office, they knock on it, and he answers the door, drenched in sweat.
Yeah. After some audible, real-sounding screams have just been heard right on the other side of the door that he's in.
He's doing cocaine.
Yeah. and screaming like as if he's being murdered while doing it.
Yeah. He's going, this is some good powder.
It's like, the kids are here. Can't let them know you do coke.
Gotta do it all real quick, I guess.
Arby, you fool! You told them you wouldn't let the kids see you like this.
This doesn't seem like it's a staged moment. Arby seems genuinely surprised that they have shown up here at this Don't Bother Me.
Right, they're supposed to be on the ride-a-whirl for another hour. That was supposed to last so much longer. The torture.
Genuinely surprised. His pants are around his ankles, and he's got like a fucking tie on his head. Like he's completely out of it. And also, there are like living, breathing lizard men chained to the wall behind him.
There are 2 Japanese kappas in his room chained to the wall.
I was so surprised by them, and even after knowing what happens later on, I don't still know. The 2 creatures, they had round, bald heads as green as melons, tiny black eyes above long lizard snouts, fat green bodies with bulging bellies. They lowered their heads and made loud snuffling sounds as the door swung open. Were they crying? They're chained to the wall, and Farraday is mad that they've seen these kappas.
This scene had the same effect of like shock and disgust as the scene in The Shining when the guy's getting a blowjob from the bear. That is this same level of like, what the fuck did I just see?
Yeah, I imagine these lizard men as like totally fucked up, like really fucking scary.
Yeah. They were real horrors. Like I said, if you've seen images of like what a kappa in Japanese mythology is supposed to look like, that's what it looked like in my head, like a true river horror.
A little bit of Abe's Odyssey. A little bit one of those.
I was kind of picturing the funky lizard men from Devil May Cry, but also the snuffling sound made me think of the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, yes.
In the books, they're described as making like a snuffling, sniffing sound. all the time.
Some little ring wraith children chained up, and not to take it, just having a Hollywood studio director with some people chained up in their room, not great.
RB, keep it at home, but like you're around kids right now, dude. Like you got to leave that stuff. You know, the kids will talk. Like,
my interpretation now that we, having known where the story goes, and we don't. These lizard boys don't ever come up again.
Yeah.
I think this is just some weird kinky shit that RB was into.
Yeah, the kids were supposed to be distracted in the middle of the day.
Yeah. These are two sex workers that he has hired to come out to this camp, and they role play or something.
Yeah, were these creatures from Weta, or were they there to get him?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Put that on a nice fun toy, please. Oh my god, dude! So they see him in the midst of his lewd
ecstasy.
act, in midst of his ecstasy, and he decides that now is time for punishment. They will be the lucky cabin. They have been dubbed the lucky cabin, and they will be tortured. To which Andrew goes, "All right, I'll just go swim about it," and he goes for a swim
alone, obviously, because why wouldn't you?
You always gotta have a buddy. Come on.
Yeah. And he gets dragged under the water by a water zombie from a film about water zombies.
The water zombies. Mm-hmm.
Which, when you think about it, is a pretty terrifying kind of zombie.
I'm telling you, the title game was strong here. That was an evocative title that I was like, that's cool. I want to know more about what. And I'm glad the water zombies do show up.
Yeah, Jaws, but zombies? Like, come on, that's amazing.
Sure. What was it? Was it like Zombie 2 where a zombie fights a shark?
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Oh, old horror movies. Might be Roger Corman. I don't know. Anyway, someone let us know. goosebuds@gmail.com.
Please let us know.
I'm an Elizabeth. I'm a fake horror fan, so I don't know. Andrew sees Jack's face on the zombie that pulls him beneath the water, and I was like, who the fuck is Jack? I'm like going through my notes, being like,
I also forgot.
I was like, who is he? Like, and Arl doesn't help us out here either. He's like, they'll know Jack, fan favorite Jack. Jack is Wasp Nest Kid, the kid who lives with them.
Right. He's non-electrified kid.
Fan favorite Jack.
Fan favorite Jack. All the features and character traits that you know and love about Jack are on display in this scene.
Yeah. And so Andrew runs back onto the beach and has a little freak out, and when he gets back to his cabin's been trashed, and the horror is real is written on the walls. Ooh.
But also, Jack and Chris are there. He sees Jack, and he tells Jack that Jack just tried to pull him underwater, to which Jack responds, "Excuse me?" Jack squinted at me. "Are you making sense? I don't think so."
Yep. Yeah.
Another realistic moment of dialogue in this book.
Paul, do you have the page that's on?
I do not have the page. I simply have the quote because I had to make note of that one. Are you making sense? I don't think so.
Are you making sense? I don't think so. Like, how do you, like, I don't care what level actor you are, the line read on
I think you guys are both nailing that line. I'm feeling very stunned by it.
Here we go. Okay, page 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I realized I'd interrupted something serious, but I didn't care. Jack, I cried. Was that you? Underwater? Did you pull me under? Excuse me, Jack squinted at me. Are you making sense? I don't think so.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Hello, Chris knocked on my head. Anyone in there?
Oh my fucking god.
Stop fooling around. You weren't in the lake this morning? No way. I was flapping my arms and flying to Jupiter. Stop joking. I want to know the truth.
Like, it's fine.
What is happening?
It's fine if you want to go through with that, but read the line, "Are you making sense? I don't think so," out loud before you print it, please. Please.
Hey, R.L. Stine, are you making sense?
I don't think so.
This book has almost like fever dream kind of plot turns, including the end of this chapter where, so Jack and Chris have just gaslit these boys for like 3 pages straight, talking to him like he's Marty McFly, and knocking on his head. And then suddenly Jack and Chris exchange glances, and Jack grabbed my shoulder and pulled me closer. He lowered his mouth to my ear. "It's too late," he whispered. "Huh? It's too late. It's already begun. There's nothing we can do about it." End chapter. Like, it's just every 10 seconds they are just shifting back and forth like, "You gotta get out of here," too. What are you talking about? Like, I was exhausted by it.
Again, it's the game, the movie, the game, which is what that whole, and it came out a year before this book. It's back and forth. Is it real or isn't real? Is it real or isn't it real? You know, it's like we're constantly going back, and that's what's supposed to be keeping us on edge, and it does to a certain extent. Except we all know that it isn't real because he said it already that it isn't real. We already know. Again, a kid probably not gonna, but probably will be caught up in the back and forth a little bit more.
I love how Jack and Chris are immediately taken out of the game by poison mushrooms in the mess hall after this.
It's fantastic. They reveal that it's real. They go in and we see the paint on the wall saying that the things that in cabin 3 that it's real. They go to dinner, to which Alonzo walks out to make an announcement as the kids are deep into their stew that someone might have accidentally gotten some poisonous mushroom stew. 2 plates at 2. We have narrowed it down. We've done all the talking. We did a lot of soul searching in the back in the kitchen. We figured out that only 2 plates could have been poisoned. We need to figure out if did it taste weird?
Was this not a Woodstock reference?
Wait, what?
Because isn't that a reference to Woodstock or one of those great rocket, which Wayne's World 2 then made fun of, with Garth going, "There's some bad red licorice in the crowd." I thought there was a moment in Woodstock where someone got on the mic and was like, someone's been sending out bad mushrooms. If you took the mushrooms, let us know.
It's LSD. There's some bad LSD going around.
Thank you.
There.
Okay,
yeah.
It was bad LSD.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going back to this is a rock and roll. This is a rock and roll history reference from R.L. Stine.
Regardless of the reference, 2 kids have been poisoned, and it just so happens to be Jack and Chris have been poisoned.
Yeah. Jack and Chris are out of the game, and the next day we all wake up to everyone's shoes.
Oh
have
my
been
God.
stolen.
The shoes have been stolen.
This was crazy. Sorry. All right. I skipped over the guards have been called in.
That's right. After the poisoning happens, the guards show up to usher everybody back to their cabins.
Yep.
After Chris and Jack die in front of everybody. Chris dying for the second time in the couple days that we've been here. The guards show up and take everybody back, and you're right. They keep looking outside throughout the night, and there are guards everywhere.
The budget for this camp is crazy.
They're offsetting it by releasing a film in conjunction with the camp.
Yeah, and they're not paying these kid actors. I've already thought about how they need to get the rights.
The kids paid to be there.
Right.
That's they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah, this is a multimedia package that he's going to walk away with multiple products from. He's going to. Yeah. This is a great grift, a perfect grift.
Also, he's got all these child shoes.
Also, the shoe thing is my genuine nightmare. I wanted to point out that at this point, by the time that they are aware that there are guards everywhere, our main characters have spotted multiple times cameras in the trees recording them. And they just go like, right. Oh, well, he's just keeping an eye on us. He's told you what the twist is, like, so many times.
To quote my friend Chad Quant.
It's me.
Wee-woos started going on. There are cameras in the trees. Oh, wee-woo.
Wee-woo time. Wee-woo.
Kevin, you mentioned this would have been a genuine nightmare for me, is the morning they wake up and every kid in every cabin has had their shoes removed.
Yes.
And there is pandemonium. I love this.
The great thing is, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, the shoes are gone. And it makes sense. It's like if you're going to try and flee, which they obviously the kids all talked about it, and they're on camera being recorded talking about their plans to flee. You're going to put your shoes on and you're going to run into the woods and you're going to escape. But if you do that, they won't be able to run because their feet will get all cut up and stuff like that. But no. They've told them even more. There are snakes everywhere. I love that it's not that they can't run through the woods with bare feet. It's that there's snakes all over the place. And if
snakes everywhere. A guard is barking on a megaphone. You have 30 seconds to respond to your cabins. Meanwhile, everyone is just running around from every cabin asking if you've lost your shoes or not.
Oh my God. Such a weird scene, but it really makes you appreciate the freedom shoes grant you. You know?
It's true.
Yeah.
I will not take it for granted now.
I'll be honest, at camp, I was definitely that kid who thought I could just be a hobbit and walk around without shoes on. Mm-hmm. And after a day or two, my You know, I was the kid with the gross feet.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to do that.
You get a corn. You'll end up with a corn or a bunion.
Oh, the sheer, I couldn't read anything else in this book from this point on because they never get their shoes back. They are never returned.
They are given their shoes. It's at a very strange time that they're giving
I
their
missed
shoes.
it. So I was like, the whole time, they're going to get splinters. Like, there's going to be a loose nail somewhere. This is terrible.
There is one moment where they do specifically mention getting their shoes back. It takes a long time for them to get their shoes back.
So the next thing to happen here.
Are we going to talk about the shoe riot?
The shoe riot, everyone at this camp is united against the camp at this point. I thought that was great.
They've all been tortured. Kids have been killed before their eyes. And they've taken it well, and they've remained stoic throughout this entire thing. But the shoes are a bridge too far for these kids. And Alonzo has them gathered, and the kids are restless and screaming. Someone throws a grapefruit at Alonzo. That's how pissed off these kids are. And a guard has to catch the grapefruit and protect him from the detritus they're throwing at him. I just thought that their righteous anger at the shoes was absolutely hilarious.
Yep.
I also appreciated, it felt like the usual default so often is a few of our characters are kind of alone and no one's listening to them, right? It's always like everyone at Jelly Jam or Camp Fear or what are all like, oh, you're just nerd. Let's make fun. Like, it's always us versus the entire world. I loved that at this point they had lost control of the camp.
Right.
The kids have gone full Camp Nowhere. Or the best part of Heavyweights, they have taken over the camp.
Yep.
Or are trying to.
Yep. And they even try to go to talk to R.B. Farraday. And in a comically tropey scene, he walks into the office to see the billowing curtains of the window flying in. And the window's open. And R.B., who runs the place, has escaped out the back door. Not because he's afraid of the kids, but because he's afraid that the horrors have gotten unleashed. And instead of trying to protect the kids who he brought here, he has simply chosen to run.
Yeah, he leaves a note that says something like, I can't do this to the kids anymore. I'm sorry. But he also chose, in that version, to do nothing to help. He didn't put a couple of kids in his car. He just got out, which is maybe real. Maybe the most real thing in the whole thing.
Faraday actually bails just after the Jack's mom arc.
Oh, it's after. I thought it was before it. Okay.
Let's talk about Jack's mom. So, in the infirmary, Jack gained access to a payphone where he called his mom, apparently explained the situation, and she was like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. Not even I'll be there right away. I'd be like, well, I just put dinner in, so that's going to be a while. And, I've had a hell of a day.
Jack, I'm tucked in for the night. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm going to come get you tomorrow.
Well, no, this would be like, Jack, your mom's real drunk. Listen, I got to sober up before I can get shit. It's a responsible thing to do. Just live to the morning.
It was book club night. I had to have all that wine.
They also, I think in this section, I don't recall it gets answered later, but after our heroes Tyler and Jack are talking to Chris, I always forget there's too many names. There's too many white boy names.
Characters. Too many characters.
That Jack and Chris, like, they're back and they go, oh my god, what is this? And they have a small chip embedded behind their ear.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And they're like, what are you talking about? And that is never answered.
It is answered.
Okay, I think it was just an earpiece.
Yeah,
right?
it is an earpiece. Yeah. It is answered. It is an earpiece. Yeah. So they show up with their chips. Jack's mother is in the quicksand. They find out. To which they run to the quicksand. The mother is like, just fucking save me! Stop talking about it and save me!
and Andrew is there and he's being like, it's okay, Mrs. Jack's mom. Quicksand isn't real. Nothing's happening to you.
It's all in your mind, Jack's mom. Don't worry about it. To which she struggles more, making the quicksand go faster.
I don't have the article on hand right now, but let me just there's no such thing as quicksand. It's a myth invented by popular culture.
And Jack's mom, to which she responds, if you're going to say something, the burden of proof is upon you, Andrew. You must provide me with citations. But he does not do it. He tells her to Google it.
He doesn't do it. He says googgle it.
Just go, trust me, Google it. And then she is sucked into the quicksand.
The last words she hears are, I'm on a podcast. I don't have to cite shit.
So Jack's mom's dead.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Seemingly dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the horrors are real. The horrors are real.
Yeah.
The scares are real. Get away while you still can.
It gets us pretty quickly into them going like, enough is enough. No more moms in quicksand. And then going to, well, we're going to throw you in the cave.
I think they run. They run away, right? They're like, oh, well, our mom's not going to be able to get us. We have no shoes, so we got to run. So they try and run away, and they fall into, I believe, the Cavern of No Return by accident.
Well, this is the mines. This is the mines. This isn't the Cavern of No Return.
Oh, this was confusing because they said this was the mines, the similarly named Mines of No Return.
It's similar.
Well,
it's not exactly that, but it's something very close to the.
They call it a mine.
They call it a mine. A mine.
A mine.
But they fall into this dark place, and we are told about the Cavern of No Return, and which we'll find out more about later. But we are told before all this happens, the Cavern of No Return is about some people who find a cavern. They decide to explore it. They fall into it, and then it's dark down there, and they hear a creature in there with them, and they're stuck there forever. And that's the point. That's the plot.
And he's like, pretty cool plot, isn't he? It's like, I'm like, eh.
I mean, maybe if I hear like more of what's going to happen, maybe there's like...
I sure liked The Descent, but there was more to The Descent than that.
Yeah, there was another twist.
A lady had to hide in some blood, Kevin. It was gross.
Whole bad is all I'm hearing.
Whole bad. And we've known that forever.
Us humans have a long history in storytelling of whole bad.
I mean... I'm pretty sure that's what Joseph Campbell said. If you read the whole cycle, he just says, whole bad. It always comes back to whole bad.
Remember in Empire where Luke is like looking at that dark tree and Yoda's like, you don't go in there, whole bad.
Whole bad. Oh my god. So they fall into the hole. It's pitch black. One of the kids... no kid can have a lighter. No kid is allowed to have a lighter. They always have had to have found the lighter on somebody else. If a kid had a lighter, they would be too bad of a kid to be in an R.L. Stine book.
I had 10 friends who didn't smoke, but all just had lighters.
Everybody had a lighter at some point.
Yeah.
But the kid,
it's our divine right as humans to be able to create fire anytime we want.
Anytime
That's our whole thing as a species.
Let kids play with fire. It happens, R.L., but he's not allowed to repeatable behavior it. So they had to find the lighter on one of the people at the camp. They go to flip the thing, but before they can do it, stage lights come on and everybody's there, and it's the end scene of the game where they're all standing around clapping because they did it. They survived the game, and the movie has been made, and the horrors have been hard, and all the people that were actors, that include Jack and Chris, revealed that they were actors. The little things on the back of their necks are revealed to be microphones. Jack's mom shows up, not dead because quicksand isn't real. And
it's not.
And says, I was also acting, and Alonzo turns out to be R.B. Faraday's brother in an act of nepotism that I don't know if he's fully grasped the gravity of yet.
I think it's sweet. I think it's cool that they all collaborate.
It's gonna come back and haunt him one day. They will not.
Real Ron Howard and his older brother Howard.
It's a real Howard family problem that they're going to be dealing with one day, and it's all revealed that it's been a big ploy, and to which the kids say, "That's fucked up. That is really." Fucked up that you did that to us. I cannot believe you did that to us.
They don't have like the vocabulary yet because of their anger and their youth to really explain why this is so fucked up, and that they're profiting off of like the fear of children.
Mm-hmm.
And,
You're not going to get any residual. Listen, the Screen Actors Guild is going to have so many problems with this production.
Oh yeah.
Unless they revealed that the kids secretly signed a bunch of likenesses and contracts and everything when they signed up for camp, like this is going to be a legal nightmare to get this film out.
Totally.
It's fucking hilarious. I had to write this scene down because this is truly the number of words it takes to get through this sequence. They're told this. And Elizabeth says, but it wasn't fair, Elizabeth chimed in. You should have warned us. Tyler and Meredith agreed. All four of us began to angrily shout at once. Mr. Faraday raised a hand to silence us. Calm down, everyone. Now you kids can relax and have fun. Enjoy the camp. You've earned it. Tyler, Meredith, Elizabeth, and I hurried out. We returned to our cabins, changed into swimsuits, and took a swim in a cold lake.
Well, that's past us.
That's past us. But the great part is then this rest of this chapter plays out where they go between all the different fun things at the park, and the whole time they're like, I'm fucking peeved while they're sitting there trying to have fun. They're like trying to have fun at each part of the park, and they can't get over how mad they are about it.
I love this part of the book.
It's hilarious.
Oh,
it's
really?
hilarious. It's hilarious.
I was so torn. I want to hear your thought. At this point, this feels kind of like this was the twist of the book, which had been done in Goosebumps before, right? At least one of the camps is like, yeah, everything's scary because we're training you to go to Earth or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so as much as this has been a rehash, like, well, okay, that's the end of the book. And then now there are 7 more chapters but wait, there's more, including like Alonzo, aka Ned, is just watching them from above the cliff, like the beach that makes you old or something. What's happening?
I don't know. I like that they're like they start to scheme a little bit, and like they end up getting their revenge by, I think it's Elizabeth and Tyler go missing.
Yep.
And Meredith and Andrew run around campus. There's a part where like just their clothes are found.
The sequences unfold in that they keep finding pieces of their clothing and being like, they never took this off. The first one is like Andrew finds Tyler's watch. He never took his watch off. Then they find which sisters that this disappears? Elizabeth. Elizabeth, they find Elizabeth. It's Elizabeth's bathing suit. She never takes this off. And then they go to the fucking twisty ride, and it's like, oh, there's Tyler. I see him right now. And then they turn the ride off, and it was just his clothes on the ride in the shape of a boy. So they
got left behind.
They got raptured in the middle of this day. And they're like, where the hell could they have gone? And then someone goes, oh shit, we just heard some voices in the cave of no return. Let's go in there despite being the only place that we said not to go inside of. And they go inside of it. Yeah. And then they go inside, and it's the same exact sequence we had before where they slide down into darkness and they hear
take us all the way there.
Okay, take us there. It's another sequence of darkness. They hear the rumbling. We're playing out the exact beats of the movie. And the kids show up and they're like, ha, we got you, Mr. Farraday and his brother, Ned Farraday. We tricked you into feeling the terror that we felt. How does it feel to be wearing our shoes for a moment that you stole and did not give back to us until we decided to go looking for these kids in the cave? And to which they go, you fools, you've doomed us all. This is the cave of no return where giant wasps live and come out at night to kill whoever's inside of it. Now we die. And the kids go, fuck, shit, we just killed ourselves.
And then the buzzing starts.
And the buzzing starts. And they get scared. And then another trick has been played upon them. They reveal again it's the same joke that was played on them before. It's Wasp Stereo that is playing around them, and it was all a prank again. Back. They got fucking Yak back. They got
Yak back.
They got Talk Boy.
Oh.
They got Talk Boy.
They got Talk Boy. Oh God! Is there a toy I ever wanted more than a Talk Boy?
One of the bees buzzes. Hi kids, we're home early.
And that's the end of the book. It's just Faraday going, wow, isn't this a blast? And 2 more weeks of this. And I'm like, please free me from this book. Please let me out of here.
It's a terrible ending. It's a terrible ending.
It's such a terrible ending that the only way I think it would work is if there were 2 versions of this book printed. One where everything is fake like it is in this canon ending. And one where everything is actually real and the kids die. So that there would be no way to have a conversation about this book.
Yes.
Because everyone thinks it ends a different way.
Right.
Like, the book is so full of like these back and forth. It's real. It's not real. It's real. It's not real moments like that. It ends up nothing is real. It's all just part of the grift. And it doesn't feel very Goosebumps.
Right. It's not.
It's too soft.
He's self-aware of the fact that he always does the twist ending, right? It's like this is where he's aware that his twist ending always comes in. But instead of doing the twist ending, instead of trying to make it a twist, he, like he did in the beginning of the book with the hijacking of the bus, he says what the twist is, and then he just sticks with it. And it is too soft, Kevin. He just goes with it, and he's just like, I'm just going to give it to you. I told you what it was going to be, and you're going to get it, and here's what it is. And here you go. And guess what, bitches? There's 2 more weeks of it. Deal with it.
If the wasp had been real, and it had even been like, oh, we think it's going to be fake, like the wasp from the speaker, and he's like, no, where do you think I got the recordings from? From here.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to be killed by wasps. That at least would be some sort of like, dun dun, they're dead.
Right.
Like, Revenge R Us was terrible, but the ending where the horrible people are turned into frogs is pretty good.
Right.
I forgot that's what happened.
Right.
Yeah. You know a story that like I think this is a tough thing to tell is the Community episode about conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
It's reminding me of that one where it would be too hard to describe so quickly, but it is a meta episode about conspiracy movies, and Jeff takes a class that is a fake class, but maybe it's not, and the teachers. And it is a really well-structured, written story where the audience and the characters don't know if they're in control of the twist anymore, and there's fake guns, and then maybe a real gun, and it's for comedy, but like you genuinely don't know what's going on the first time you watch it. And somehow this is like the antithesis of that, where it's just a character calling their shot. And then RL is just, like you said, RL is just spamming the twist button, insert one more twist, until it no longer works. He is just burning it out.
Right.
Yeah, this book doesn't feel very cohesive. It feels like if RL had more time, he would have written a shorter book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, maybe if you had the kids become aware of the twist early on that it's a movie... And they're like, we're going to flip the script, which is a weird thing that these kids in the 90s know that an industry term, flip the script. We're going to flip the script, and we're going to prank RB, and then it goes bad. That would also have been interesting.
Right.
But it really weird to kind of just add on these last 3 chapters of like, but wait, there's more.
It just, it doesn't, it's not satisfying because I guess you're trying to give the kids like a little bit of like a victory or like some sort of like, like fuck these parents, type of thing, that have been screwing with us. But like, it's not satisfying because it just ends. Yeah, it just ends back into the same thing that has been happening the whole time. And there's just it robs you. Like you said, it's soft because there's no resolution to it, right?
If Kid Revenge was the midway point of the book,
right,
and then they got their revenge, but realized that actually some of the horrors are real, like. Then I think the book would have been more interesting and goosebumpsy. Right. But as it stands, like, it just kind of feels like there's no magic in it, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah.
This is the equivalent of like a stand-up comic that you go to see a show. And they've been not having a great set. Yep. And they've had their time, and the audience and the comic have both seen the light, which means it's time for you to wrap it up. And they're like, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to dig myself out of this. I'm going to do an extra 10. And then they just do 10 more minutes on cancel culture. And you're like, God damn it. Why didn't you sit down when you had to sit down? Just get out of here.
I mean, I got to say, though, that despite the ending not being good, and despite some of the dialogue being pretty terrible, I thought I did have fun with this one because at least it did what we say we like in a Goosebumps book, which is hit you with the horror right away. Chapter 2... We're getting into horror, and scary things are happening to these kids. Kids are crying in fear by the end of chapter 2.
Yes.
Which I think is a good sign, and I want that. I want children crying in fear. It happens multiple times throughout the story that they're crying in fear, and kids are being like fucked with, and it's hilarious. It's like it's so funny, like how dark he goes with this stuff, and I feel
balloons of yellow vomit.
Balloons of yellow vomit.
Kids chained to tables while a real live gorilla runs around the kitchen is good.
And actual firearms are fired off next to their heads.
Headcanon, that gorilla was just Andy Serkis. And
you think so?
Yeah. And they actually tranked him because he's that method.
He's that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have stopped. He would have killed someone if they didn't trank him. Famously had to stop him from choking out the hobbits during Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they had to keep a trank gun
on. So like that stuff's great, and I think that makes this a good book because at least throughout it I was entertained at the ridiculous stuff, but it's just not a satisfying ending, which we all know wow them in the end. They didn't wow me in the end, and I think that leaves you with the soft ending, the bitter taste of not like the sour taste of a poorly ended Goosebumps. But I gotta say that I think overall the book was fun enough. I think that RL played to his strengths. He did names, lots of names. That's titles. I mean, he also did lots of kids' names, which is not a strength. But the names of books and movies, he did a great job with, and he had some interesting ones in there. Kunga the Animal Vampire, y'all.
Yeah, Kunga the Animal Vampire, great one. I'm coming down. This is a C for me. Like, tried some new things, which I appreciate. But in the end, it just kind of lacked that like true Goosebumps flavor that I seek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I say this is one of the weaker camps.
Yeah,
by far
the lowest camp. You think? I mean, we did have
maybe the lowest camp. I love Della in the last one.
Yep, Speedboat Ghost.
Yeah,
Speedboat Ghost.
Ratfink Speedboat Ghost. Yeah,
Camp Jelly Jam, obviously the best.
Ratfink boat, the boat with Ratfink Ghost on it.
yeah.
Like, this is probably the weakest camp, but better than other books.
Yes.
I don't know. I think this is down in the mud with the rest of the books. Like, this is. I wouldn't say the camp status elevates Fright Camp above the other books.
The problem is it takes the best of the camp aspects and then mixes it with the worst of like Shocker on Shock Street, like you said, Chad. Like it takes it takes the worst of RL's like fake out Horrorland, even like the bad parts of Horrorland. Although I think Horrorland's good because the horror is real. It's not a fake out the whole time, right? Like,
yeah.
So like I think that like it takes Shocker on Shock Street, which I think was the whole time the kids were robots, right?
The kids were actually robots testing out a theme park.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was almost like another twist, right? That was a twist on top of it. It's not just a theme park, or it's not just that the monsters are all fake. It is also the kids aren't real.
But that was disappointing. That was the same level of disappointment in that you're like, wait, so none of it fucking mattered? You just told me that nothing mattered because these were robots the whole time, and just like this, wait, none of this was real, and they're just going to be pranked for another 2 weeks. That's all this is. Okay, yeah. And it makes it feel like it just makes the resolution feel weaker because you're just sad that none of it mattered.
And all you had to do was write in some giant wasps, and you would have been fine.
Give me a big wasp, yeah,
like oh, that's not a real wasp. That's just the stereo. And then they shine the camera over, or shine their little flashlights, which they have in the scene, over to where the speaker's supposed to be, and there's a giant wasp sitting there, and they all scream hard out.
Or just be like, oh, the giant wasps are real, but there are lots of poisonous snakes, and they do like to sleep in caves.
Yes.
Uh-oh, poison, dead. End of book. Everyone dies.
Why can't more kids die in these goddamn books?
He tried to kill kids 3 times in this book and was denied. Like Jesus was denied on all 3 times.
Jesus once said, author will try to kill off some kids
3 times.
The third time,
the cock
you
shall
will deny me.
The cock shall crow.
Well, that feels like a buds.
Philip Buds. Hey, can I recommend a tangentially connected piece of media that I might have already done on the podcast before?
Sure.
You know what a good version of this? One Cut of the Dead. I absolutely adore the indie film One Cut of the Dead about a zombie film being shot by a low-budget studio, and then it seems like zombies attack while they're shooting a zombie movie, and that's all I'll say.
Okay.
It is a fantastic version of doing maybe this is real or isn't it, and you constantly have to keep guessing.
Cool, I've never heard of it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Love it. One Cut of the Dead. Highly recommend. Don't read anything else about it if you're going to watch it.
Okay, cool.
All right.
That's all I got. Boys, anything else on your side?
No, I'm going to go throw all my shoes out, see how long I can live without shoes.
I'm worried about stray. There's a kid at my the one time I went to an overnight camp. I had a miserable time because everyone had been there all summer already, and I came in late.
Yeah,
I messed up, and the kid in my cabin, the only one who would talk to me, was some kid that on the second week he had stepped on a nail on the beach and had to have his foot bandaged up.
Jesus.
And that had clearly become his entire identity for the rest of that summer. The
hurt foot kid.
I want to talk about that nail I stepped on.
I mean, it sounds like it made a severe impact on him. I'm sure it was a very memorable
It
moment.
made an impression on him in many ways. It has stuck with me. I'm like, gotta watch out on the beach. There's nails out there.
Hey, speaking of cool accessories, if you want to go to goosebuds.store and buy a shirt or something, why not? Give us some money. You can do that also on our Patreon at patreon.com/goosebudspod.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And then look for our newest young adult novel, The Horror of Nail Beach, which will also be on there soon.
Oh my God. Genuinely got shivers about that.
That's been a Buds. We'll see y'all on the next one.
Okay, bye. Hard out.
Bye.
Bye. This episode of Goosebuds is brought to you by our wonderful Patreon supporters. They live in the Book of Names, starting with Stefan Jive Turkey Kuwabara,
Hollis Hornbeak,
Cameron Murphy Audio,
Michael McDowell,
Josh Robertson,
Mickey C,
Nathan Dolzal,
Kelly C,
Mike Lanteri,
Buddy Morrill,
Elcade,
Mel Dipson,
Zang Keith,
Afsheen,
Danky McStanky,
Dango Twist,
Lowbelly Hate Me,
Brian Wells,
Zenticles,
Stealth Bates,
Joseph Miranda,
Patrick Reynolds,
Robert Moon,
Jason Crooker,
Clay Castle,
Miguel Pardo,
Third Sergio,
John Keaty,
Calf,
Chad Will, make more paranoia shoppy. Chad, tell people that your full name is Chad Will, please, from now on.
Chadwell,
Chad Will III at your service, Sniggy,
Maddie,
Ishak Arifin,
Gregory D. Warren,
Alan Saylor,
Cody Redfield,
Bradford Coulter,
Aiden Alexander Dice,
Reinfected,
Jar Jar Slinks,
Justin Wagman,
Chosen One,
Cardboard Walk,
Levi Van,
Up and Champ,
Jonas Engman,
Alicia Grafe,
Maloyster,
Carl,
Something I Love, Broccoli. Hey, pause for a second. I think I gotta get Paul off my chest.
Great job. Great.
That threw me for a second.
Great
Good job,
flip.
Kevin.
Great flip. The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation,
Elusive Koala,
Yanni Markovina,
Joe,
Brooke X,
Jesus Christ,
Christian Vanskever,
Trent Davis,
Drew Applegate,
Jeremy Lowe,
Brian Hobgood,
Jonas Blotterman,
Zach Connor,
Patreon_donator, yo,
Joe, Spooky Digital Ghost, Tierney,
Tom Whittam,
Andrew Jadsack respects Joe regular name Scott, heart emoji, Luke Skywalker salute. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of meta to unpack from that.
Did Luke Skywalker ever salute?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
He does the cool salute, and then that's when R2 shoots the lightsaber out.
Oh,
It's
this is the
fucking
like
sick.
over on
It's
Jabba's
sick.
palace.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's cool,
good.
Luke.
This is all in here in the Book of Names.
It's Cool Hand Luke.
Keep it in. Lord Cornwallis,
Paul Grasso,
Carson Birkenbean,
Murph EP,
Joe, regular name Scott,
Trendy Moron,
Tevin Ticklebean is your new best friend,
Sean Minogue,
Vincent Modica,
Wormtown Glen,
Luke Canoodles.
Wiggle it!
Love that energy.
Zam Bambino,
Hugh Bolin,
John Pigeon Hat Barber,
Chip Handsome,
Matt McClellan,
Alex Moon, the robotic dog,
Sarah Kemp,
Tanya Turtle,
Chili Dish Gambino,
Nathan Remick,
Divaldi,
Brett,
Reed Stubbendeek,
Adam You Goofed,
Juan Jalapena,
Joey Evans,
Carewise Gamgee,
Keith Halcrow,
Chris Tranquil Sleepwear Erection Nelson,
Timothy Misodulakis,
Clay McCarty,
Uncle Cool Brother,
Cameron Hansen,
Matthew Stevens,
Parker Lee,
Hambo,
Hey, Polly, it's me, Benny. I'm sorry, I should have done an accent. Hey, Polly, it's me. Yes, Benny, guess your weight. The spooky Dune Witch. Anyway, go on and put your hand in my boob box. I like bad East Coast Dune.
Hey, generally depressing.
Dom sexy ghost, a.k.a. Captain Sick.
I'm still feeling bad about my offensive stereotype. Raymond Hernandez.
Flemley.
The Crowfins.
Matthew Sutton.
Yeah.
You know, Chad, it just caught up to me how insulted I am by that accent. Ben Bohan.
Jeffrey Owen Cahy.
Lee Wood.
Kelsey Kinnaman.
Damn.
Boss Gerritsen.
Hey, Eric. It's going to be all right. You're doing a great job.
Russell Kasberg.
Xavier Jimenez.
Brendan Arifin.
Liam Neeson's dough.
Crispy Tricus.
Scotty Pippen.
When Dragons Rule.
Streak.
Meet Virginia.
Jonas Envoldsen.
Calamity Carl.
Germ Juice.
Dungeon Kappa.
Nick Johnson.
MC Hamster.
Zach Weir.
Limp Duck.
Alan G. Jussum.
Stephen Day.
Tobias Clark.
Michael Kupka.
Julian Lamendia.
Adam Muth.
Andre Villanueva.
Ryan Carroll.
Jeremy Bowser.
Megan McCormick Mason.
Ninja Breadman.
Hood Lemon.
Got little old Ma pretty Frenched.
Peanutberg level 69.
Estabena, Lord of Paul's Pants.
And a Dr. Chocula.
Jimmy Soul.
The Davy Boy.
Kenny M.
Dr. Diarrhea.
Moon Juice.
Kieran McNamara.
Diet Soda.
Skelefella.
Jackie Ledoux.
Coleman Laguza.
Lamb is a bone wizard.
A pair of Scots.
SSJ Trogdor.
Hell yeah.
Levi Kidder.
David Gray.
Bryce Diori.
That's a dwarf name.
Yep. Matthew Bertato.
I am Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole.
Classic. Carbson.
Mike Spaghetti Jones, also a dwarf name. Dwarves love spaghetti. Read a book.
He said it. It's true. Redemption.
The noodles are denser down the earth. Some of Chad's bird friends you might hear even in the recording of this.
Nicholas Maloney.
Midwest Indigo 13.
Chris.
Thomas Jansis.
Eric Horwitz.
Tiffany Leah.
David Lynch, XXX. Brendan Fraser, 666.
Dr. Egg Drop Soup Man.
I just realized that was a Robotnik parody reference. Lucretia McEvil.
Elm Realm.
Muted Astronaut.
Soggy Newspapers.
Henri Torbert. Or Henry Torbert. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a dwarf name.
All French people are dwarfs.
Well, I've got some theories, and I am very French.
Wagmar Wigmere.
Dakota Camp.
John W.
Burger's Wonderful World.
The Skotag.
Adam Knapp.
Logan Derby.
Brad Schmelzer.
Kibio Flair.
Bjarndir.
Nice.
We're surprisingly not a dwarf name. Serial Killer X.
Chick.
Matt Skellaman.
Milk Punk.
Skullatorin.
Shuddering Stefan.
Kakenti.
Mr. Misfire.
Mandy Nasty.
Llama Lad.
Jover the Moon.
Benjamin Luther.
Edgar's Crassus.
976 Evil.
Philip Reynolds.
Dennis Wright.
Jacob Rogers.
Chicago Frank.
What's up, Chicago Frank?
Also a dwarf name. Chicago exists in all universes.
There's always a Sears Tower.
There's
Nathan Gurney.
Oh, I love this one. Rum Daddy.
Rum Daddy. Chad, that was too brilliant. Cameron Ganzaveld.
Vosivi.
Matt Septor.
Greg Gervasi.
Daryl Flynn.
Dakota Kipper.
Greg, is it Gervasi or Gervasi? Please tell me. And
Tell us.
tell us. And now, welcoming some new names to the Book of Names you'll never escape. Ryan R. Davis.
Welcome, Pizza Bagel Rocco. I'm so hungry now.
Welcome, Scott Wabble.
Get on in, Kit Bush.
Ooh, jump on in, take off your shoes, Anthony Rodriguez.
Now, ascend, be.
I write your name in blood, Peter McGregor.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, your names are all dwarf names. We fooled you.
The whole book. It's dwarves the whole way down.
It's just dwarves.
Thank you.
So thanks, bye.
See y'all in Chicago, aka Dwarf Town. Bye-bye.